Hey there! Welcome back to my channel. I am so happy to have you here. I thought it would be a fun idea to go through my top 10 books from 2025 in order to begin the new year, to kind of reflect on my favorite genres, authors, just kind of reads I liked in the previous year. It would be like a fun time capsule for future me, and also a good way for you to learn my reading taste. I will be counting series as whole, however I will be emphasizing which book was my favorite from the series and why. And also these are completely in no particular order, I just wrote them down on a piece of paper, so I guess these are in order of my thoughts. So without further ado, grab yourself a drink, get cozy, and let's get started. The first book series I wanted to talk about is actually my only reread of 2025, and that is The Hunger Games. I've read the series, I think when I was 11 or 12 for the first time, and ever since then I have never reread the books. I have watched the movies, but I have never got back to books. But before Sunrise on the Reaping coming out, I thought it would be a fun idea to reread the books, even though I thought I remembered everything. I didn't. This series as a whole holds a special place in my heart, and I think it forever will, because it is just so much more than just interesting books, interesting movies with unique world building. With these books we can reflect on us as society and low-key see where we're going. Because as of late, especially if you're from the US, there are some reminiscent things with The Hunger Games. Sunrise on the Reaping was not even a 5-star, a 6-star read for me, and even though it was extremely painful and I cried like a baby during it, I still really appreciated it, and I loved getting Hamish's games and what he gone through, because I feel like it gives us a fuller picture of him as a character, especially during 3 main books. I know it isn't a popular opinion, but I loved seeing familiar faces in The Sunrise on the Reaping. Some people thought that Suzanne Collins was just feeding us fans with names and people that we already know, but I found that it actually contributed to the story a lot, and it helped us remember some things and understand some things better. Next is another heartbreaking book that made me feel so many things I did not expect to feel, and that is none other than Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo from the same author is literally the best book I have read in my entire life. And even though I read it more than 2 years ago, I still find myself thinking about it, if not daily, then weekly for sure. So I had very high hopes going for this book because I've heard amazing things, amazing reviews, even though, yeah, a lot of people cried and I expected to cry, and I did. In this story we follow main characters who are women in NASA in 70s. And so we get a lot of insights of how it is to be a woman in a male-dominant field, as well as overall how it is to be an astronaut. I love everything space related, so this definitely was a hit. And the love story was absolutely beautiful, yet heartbreaking. I loved these two characters so much together, and there were so many amazing and beautiful quotes in this book. And the ending, it literally felt like Taylor Jenkins Reid stabbed me 12 times and then kissed on the forehead. I might still cry thinking of that book. So if you want an amazing historical fiction book that focuses highly on romance as well as historical aspect, definitely check this book out. Next is the book that I have physically with me, and that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I have had this book on my TBR for a while, however I was almost intimidated by its size. So even the enormous amount of positive and amazing reviews for the book didn't really push me to read it. However, since I got this amazing copy, I literally had no other choice than to finally get into this book. And dare I say, it did not disappoint at all. This book has literally everything that I love and everything that I want to have in a fantasy book. It has an amazing and complex world building, so many amazing characters, and of course there is a unique magic system and also dragons. If you are thinking about reading this book, do not let its size intimidate you, because I was eating up literally every single second of it. Everything in this book is important and at the end is coming together, and I just love that in books. We follow 4 characters, 2 from east side of the world, 2 from west. And even if at first you think that there is literally no way how can they all come together, trust me, in the end it all makes sense. This will be a series, however, this book can be read as standalone. It is a fully wrapped up story, so you can just read this one and do not wait 5 more years for the next book. I definitely will be waiting, and I also really want to read the prequel because I've heard that it is just as amazing. Next is a book that took me completely by surprise. I hoped I would love it, but I did not expect to love it as much as I did, and that is Shield of Sparrows by Devney Priory. I loved everything in this book. 2 main characters were absolutely adorable together, side characters were amazing as well. I really loved the plot, and the ending completely shook me. I cannot wait for the next book to come out in April, and trust me, I will be reading it literally the day it comes out. I loved how monsters in this book were based on animals that we all know. It was just really unique, and I have never seen anything like that, so I ate it up. I did not have any troubles imagining how these animals looked. However, if you do have troubles, I highly recommend checking out author's Instagram because she has a post with all these monsters drawn, so I feel like that really helps while reading the book. I have seen people hate on the book because of our FMC Odessa and the way she asks a lot of questions. However, I have not found it irritating at all, and I literally did not care. I loved her as a main character, and I cannot wait to see more of her in book 2. Another book that also actually took me by surprise is Starling House by Alix E. Harrow. I did buy this book just because of the pretty cover, but the insides were even more amazing. I loved how this book is fantasy, but also not really. It is more of just our world with a little fantastical element to it. And the romance was absolutely cute. Mind you, this is a subplot, so that's not the main focus on the book, but the little crumbles that we did get, I ate up. Opal and Arthur are just so adorable, and I'm so happy that they had their happy ending. This book definitely made me feel things, because at one moment I was smiling and laughing my ass off, and the next one I was crying because of the conversation that our characters were having, and I love when books do that. Definitely an underrated book, and I definitely recommend you checking it out. Next is a series that has recently been gaining popularity, and it definitely deserves it, and it deserves even more hype. That is Legendborn Cycle by Tracy Deonn. I have read all 3 books this year that are currently out, and by the way the 3rd book ended, it is criminal to wait that long for next book. In this series we follow our main character Bree, who suddenly uncovers a secret society, and so she has to join it to find out more information about her mother's death. The magic system in this is absolutely amazing. The characters are even better, and literally the whole thing is just so good. I will not be going more in depth into the plot because I do believe that you have to go into it blind. It just gives you more enjoyment over the whole story. Out of all 3 books, the 3rd one is definitely my favorite, that is Oathbound. I loved following different characters, learning about the whole story from different perspectives, and the topics that were discussed in that book definitely touched my heart the most. So I highly recommend reading this series. It is definitely one of my favorite series that I have read the entire year. So if you want to add at least 1 book from this video, please let it be Legendborn. Next is another fantasy series, Crowns of Nyexia, but specifically the first duology that I have read, the Nightborn Duet. There are 2 main books and 1 novella in between them. I have read all 3 of them, and I loved them all equally. They were all 5 stars for me, and that happens so rarely that I completely did not expect it. It is a fantasy with vampires and trials in them, and I have seen a lot of people compare it to the Hunger Games, and they are nothing similar at all, except for that trial element. So don't expect them to be the same going into the series, because you definitely will be disappointed. However, what you can expect is an amazing series with great banter between main characters and so many unpredictable plot twists that your mind will be blown. The ending of the first book went absolutely crazy, so of course I had to pick up the second book immediately. And the novella in between was amazing. I have never rated a novella 5 stars. So that definitely tells you something. I cannot wait to continue this series, and I will be continuing it in the near future. There is another duology that is fully out, so I literally cannot wait to get my hands on it. The next duology that I want to talk about is One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. Unpopular opinion, but I enjoyed the first one more. I feel like it just had more of elements that I tend to enjoy in books. The magic system and the plot were so unique. I love when books not just copy one another, but actually have something that was never done before. The whole magic revolves around cards that you have to collect in order to get some abilities. And so our main character Elspeth, when she was a child, accidentally touched one of these cards, and ever since then she has had a monster living in her head. The dark gothic atmosphere in this book had me absolutely hooked. I never thought I was a sucker for such an atmosphere, but apparently I am. I was so obsessed with the world and with the characters that I had to go straight into the second book, and even though I did not enjoy it quite as much as the first book, it still was amazing and I loved everything that was going on. I loved another couple that we got in the second book, and they might even be my favorite couple from the whole series. We'll definitely be reading from Rachel Gillig more because I feel like she's such an amazing storyteller. Next is the book that, if not for my friend, I would have never actually reached for it, and that is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have heard no one talking about it except for my friend who actually pushed me to read it and gave me this copy, so Polina, thank you. It is a romance book, however I feel like the plot of it is so unique and I've never read anything even slightly similar to it. Our FMC's husband, on their yearly anniversary of them getting married, was on a helicopter flight and all of a sudden he is missing. So a big part of this book is Emma grieving and learning how to live without a person who she has been with literally since high school. And then she finds another guy who she falls in love with and gets engaged. And that's when things get interesting, because all of a sudden Jess, the husband, reappears, and it turns out that he wasn't dead the whole time. He was actually surviving the whole time, and he was trying to find ways how to get back home. And so Emma now has to figure out her feelings for both of these men who she loves, and I really appreciated the ending of this book. I feel like it beautifully wrapped up the story and I was extremely happy with it. And the last book, or rather a series of interconnected standalones that I want to talk about today, is Gaming and Romance, and specifically the two books that I read from it, Dungeons and Drama and Dating and Dragons. These two books are YA rom-coms and they are so sweet that I was giggling and kicking my feet the whole time I was reading both of these books. Even if I had to choose, I couldn't choose my favorite book out of both of these because I enjoyed them equally and they both were 5 stars. Were they cheesy and cliche? Definitely. Did I still have a really fun time? Also definitely. I loved how D&D was incorporated into these books, and while I've only played D&D once, I can see how many people are so obsessed with this game. In both of these books there was also a big friendship aspect, and I highly enjoyed that as well, because we were not only focusing on relationships, we were also focusing on friendships. They are also super short, and the first book I read in one day, which rarely happens. So if you're looking for a cutesy fun time, definitely pick these up. And these are my favorite reads from 2025. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite book of last year, because I'm always looking to add new books to my TBR. If you've made it this far into the video, please comment down the sparkle emoji to manifest for all the 5-star reads in this year. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and also don't forget to subscribe because a lot of fun and exciting videos are coming this year. And with that, I will let you go and I'll see you in my next videos. Bye bye.